What if I told you that your entire family spent decades systematically erasing you from existence, only for you to discover that the one person who truly saw you left you something worth over $30 million? This isn't clickbait. This is my story. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most are actually the ones holding you back from your true potential. But first, if stories of hidden family secrets, shocking inheritances, and ultimate justice get your heart racing, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this unfolds. My name is Lauren, and for 28 years of my life, I believed I was the family disappointment, the black sheep, the one who never quite fit in. Growing up in the Langston family meant living in the shadow of my older sister Erin, and let me tell you, that shadow was long and cold. While Erin was winning beauty pageants and charm competitions, I was in the backyard with my grandfather, collecting soil samples and asking too many questions about why plants grew differently in different areas. My parents, Dennis and Marjorie, made it crystal clear where their priorities lay. Every family dinner was a performance review where Erin was the star performer and I was barely even in the audience. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" became the soundtrack of my childhood. Erin was poised, perfect, and most importantly to my parents, profitable. She was the face of our family's real estate empire. Langston Realty, charming clients and closing deals with that magazine perfect smile. Me. I was the weird kid who got excited about photosynthesis and kept a notebook full of experiments that made everyone uncomfortable at family gatherings. But there was one person who saw me differently. My grandfather, Edward Langston. While my parents were busy molding Erin into their perfect successor, Grandpa and I would disappear into his workshop for hours. He'd show me how to test soil pH, how to identify plant diseases, how to chart growth patterns. He never once told me I was asking too many questions. Instead, he'd say, "Write that down, Lauren. Write the things they don't understand. One day, the world will." When I won the state science fair at age 14, the biggest academic achievement of my young life, you want to know who showed up? Just Grandpa. My parents were at Erin's pageant rehearsal. Erin couldn't even be bothered to congratulate me, but Grandpa? He was so proud he cried. He asked me to hide the award so no one would feel uncomfortable. Even then, I was being asked to shrink myself for other people's comfort, and then, gradually, I started disappearing from family events. Phone calls weren't returned. Invitations got lost in the mail. By the time I was in graduate school, I felt like a ghost haunting my own family. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that this wasn't accidental. This was orchestrated. 3 years ago, I got a call that would change everything. Grandpa had passed away, and there was a will reading. I walked into that lawyer's office feeling like I was entering enemy territory. The mahogany table was so polished it looked like a mirror, stretching endlessly in a room designed to make you feel insignificant. At the head sat Mr. Rohr, the estate lawyer. Navy tie, clinical tone, the kind of man who delivered life-changing news like he was reading a grocery list. There was Erin, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine, practically glowing with anticipation. My mother Marjorie wore that hollow smile I knew so well, the one that said everything and nothing. And my father Dennis? He did what he did best, absolutely nothing. When Mr. Rohr started reading, the allocations were brutal in their simplicity. Erin, the golden child, the family favorite, went everything. The Charleston mansion worth millions, the lake property, the entire Langston Realty business, and $11.2 million in liquid assets. Erin didn't just smile. She glowed. No surprise, no tears of gratitude, just pure satisfaction. Mom reached for her hand like this had all been choreographed, and then came my part. To Lauren Blake, I leave item 47C, described as the safe deposit key currently held at First National Bank Savannah branch. Mr. Rohr placed a small piece of brushed silver on that massive table. No envelope, no explanation, just a key with a faded plastic tab. The silence that followed was surgical. Erin leaned forward with that honey over ice voice. "Well, that's poetic." She assumed it was worthless. Maybe some war bonds or old coins. Even suggested it might be Grandpa's stamp collection. But I knew better. Something about that key felt different. That bank still smelled of floor polish and old money. The kind of place where wealth whispers instead of shouts. When I handed over the key, The woman behind the desk didn't look surprised. She looked like she'd been expecting me. "This way, Miss Blake," she said, leading me through private offices and down a narrow hallway lined with thick doors. Inside, that small, windowless room was Box 47C, heavier than I expected. It contained 3 items that would change everything. First, a sealed folder in Grandpa's neat handwriting, property titles. But these weren't Langston Realty properties. These were private holdings under his name alone. 3 commercial properties in downtown Charleston that no one else knew about. Second, a flash drive in a small leather case. Third, a bank statement, printed just 2 weeks before he died. When I opened that statement, my hands started shaking. The account balance read $30,291,844.22. Listed beneficiary, Lauren E. Blake. This wasn't part of the public trust, not part of the estate they'd carved up, like Sunday roast. This was mine. The flash drive contained a single audio file. When I pressed play, Grandpa's voice filled that small room. "If you're hearing this, Lauren, then you already know the others got what they wanted. They were always busy tallying up what they thought I owed them. You never asked. That's why I saved this for you." He explained how he'd been moving assets for 10 years, slowly, quietly, legally. While the family focused on managing his public image, he was protecting what really mattered. "This isn't a reward, Lauren. It's a handoff. I trust you'll know what to do with it. Or not. Either way, they can't touch this." Sitting in that sterile room, I realized he hadn't just left me money. He'd given me freedom from people who'd spent years trying to erase me. But the real shock came when I drove to the old family ranch to see my grandmother Dorothy. I hadn't been there in over a year, but something told me if Grandpa had hidden this much, there might be more secrets. When I knocked on the door, Grandma answered with cold recognition. "So you finally remembered we exist," she said. That's when the truth came out. My family had been telling her I didn't want contact, that I'd moved away, changed my number, that I was embarrassed by them. Aaron had even told her I'd moved to Florida when I'd actually visited the year before. Grandma showed me Grandpa's notepad where he'd written what he thought was my phone number. It wasn't even close to my real number. They'd given him fake contact information. He called this number almost every day before he passed, she said. They'd made sure I didn't know he was sick. They'd lied about the funeral time so I'd miss it. I'd shown up at noon to an empty church. The service had been at 9. For years, I thought I was the problem. I thought I was the one who'd abandoned the family. But they had systematically erased me from Grandpa's life, and from each other's lives. But Grandma had one more surprise. From a hidden compartment under the stairs, she pulled out a cedar box Grandpa had carved himself. Inside was another sealed envelope marked to be opened only when all parties are present. She called the family. Despite their protests, she made it clear, show up or miss out. The next morning, they arrived like actors in a play they thought they were directing. Mom in her camel coat and pearls, Dad with his manila folder, Erin with her designer scarf and phone constantly in hand. Then came Mr. Albert Keene with the real wool.to my grandmother Dorothy, the ranch, the home, and their shared accounts. But here's where it gets interesting. To me, Lauren, the Langston Environmental Research Facility on Pannon Hill Road, including all the land, structures, operating budget, patents, and active grants, Aaron's face went white. This wasn't just property. This was Grandpa's life's work, his legacy, and then came the split of the remaining estate, equally between Aaron and me. But the most powerful moment came when Mr. Keene read Grandpa's personal letter to me. "You were never the mistake. You were the mind I admired most. You asked why when others didn't care to. You listened harder, thought deeper. You were born to question and to build." He remembered everything. How I'd trace pollination cycles in notebooks at age 8. How they'd laugh at my experiments. How I'd asked him to hide my state science fair award so no one would feel uncomfortable. "I couldn't fix how they treated you," the letter continued. "But I could leave you a space that wouldn't ask you to shrink." That's when everything exploded. Erin stood up, chair tipping backward. "This is absurd," she said. "You told me if I stayed close, visited him, made him feel seen, I'd inherit everything." My parents looked at the floor. They'd orchestrated this whole performance, coaching Aaron on how to win Grandpa's favor while systematically cutting me out. I finally found my voice. She didn't even come to that science fair. "Mom, you were at Aaron's pageant rehearsal instead. All I ever heard growing up was, why can't you be more like Aaron?" I continued. "And from you, Aaron, every time I tried." To be proud of something, you turned it into a warning shot. You disappeared for years. Aaron shot back. I was erased, I replied. By you. By all of you. Grandma had heard enough. She told Mom she'd been feeding her lies about me for years, and told Aaron that while Grandpa loved her, he saw through her performance to the real legacy, the one that should go to someone who loved him honestly. They left one by one. No slamming doors, just that quiet, final click. The Langston Environmental Research Facility didn't look like much at first, a converted horse barn with a tin roof. But inside, it was everything I'd ever dreamed of. State-of-the-art equipment, workbenches, and at the center, my childhood science notebook that Grandpa had kept all these years. I moved in full-time, brought in 2 brilliant friends from grade school, and we started with local grants. We botched our first experiments, burned out equipment, and cried over rejected proposals. But we kept showing up. The breakthrough came when I started the Little Findings Project, a youth science education program for rural kids, mobile classrooms, DIY kits, and most importantly, notebooks like mine, with Grandpa's words embossed on the front. Write the things they don't understand. One day, the world will. We were giving kids like me, the weird ones, the question askers, the ones who didn't fit in, a place to belong. 3 years later, Aaron came back. Not the polished, perfect version I'd grown up with, but someone quieter, more real. She'd been volunteering with youth debate programs and brought training materials for helping shy students present complex ideas. She started visiting every other weekend, helping our science campers with presentations. Some of the kids called her Coachy. She never apologized with words, but she showed up. And sometimes that's enough. It's been 6 years since that reading. 6 years since I watched my parents walk out that door for the last time. The facility has grown from one barn into something extraordinary. 4 research labs, 3 greenhouses, 60 acres of field trials. We've developed drought-resistant seed strains and partnered with universities worldwide. Last month, I stood on a stage in San Francisco accepting a national grant for climate innovation. I wore Grandpa's pocket watch, the one with my childhood photo inside, the same one that made Mom roll her eyes. These days, Grandma lives in a small apartment connected to my house. We drink coffee in the sunroom, and she tells me stories. I never knew how Grandpa proposed by planting a tree, how he believed soil could remember care, how he always knew I'd come back. Some evenings, I walk to the old bench Grandpa built by hand. From there, I can see the real stars, not the ones I stuck on my bedroom ceiling as a kid, but the infinite ones above. And I think of that little girl with dirty knees and questions too big for her family. I whisper to her, soft but steady, you were never invisible. You were just ahead of your time. This story isn't just about money or revenge. It's about the power of one person believing in you when everyone else has given up. It's about finding your voice when the world tries to silence you. And it's about understanding that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most are the ones holding you back from your true potential. Your worth isn't determined by how others see you. Your legacy isn't written by those who doubt you. And sometimes, the greatest gift someone can give you isn't money or property, it's the permission to be exactly who you were meant to be. If this story resonated with you, please smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever had someone believe in you when no one else would? Share your experiences in the comments below. Remember, you're not invisible. You're not broken. You're not too much or not enough. You're just ahead of your time, and that's exactly where you need to be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.